What's your name, sir?
My name is Brett Betts, B-E-T-Z.
And you have an interesting story for us with an 18.
I do, and I didn't actually get to fly an 18. I've got a dozen or so skydives of an 18, but at the time I was a freight pilot flying an Aerostar out of Cleveland Hopkins, and an 18 came in, and this would have been 1988. Still flying a lot of car parts. 18 comes in, tall cabin like this one, and a pallet of truck rear ends, the rear axle set on a huge pallet. So big of a pallet that the small tow motor they actually had a line guy standing on the back of the tow motor so it would steer, because the tow motor was doing a hop. And he gets the pallet in the 18 and he backs up and he gets in like another bite, and it couldn't move the pallet any further. I didn't work for this guy, we're just helping out. So a bunch of pilots, we came in, the pallet of the 18, straps and crowbars, and the pallet's sitting here. And we're trying to get the pallet forward, and we worked at it for about a half an hour, didn't move that pallet an inch, and the pilot said, "The hell with it." Closed the doors. The tail wheel was just about flat, and I gave a prayer, and out to Detroit he went, and I was waiting for the. Fortunately, I couldn't shift. I couldn't go any further aft, but that 18, man, of course, the tail never came up. It just levitated. He just climbed, but he got out of there and he got it home. And I couldn't believe it, because I can't imagine how much weight was back here. But that's my 18 story. It ain't much of a story, but that's what I can remember from these airplanes.
So you flew Aerostars and
Navajos and Aztecs hauling canceled checks.
And Aztecs. Boy, you can put a lot of stuff in an Aztec.
You can. Yeah, back when I was younger and lighter, I remember I could fill an Aztec and put 1,000 pounds of checks, which not very many runs did that, but we did have a run that did that. It was all night, you know. And a freight dog story, the owner of my company, the company was called Air Continental, they're not in business anymore, out of Norwalk, Ohio. The owner said facetiously, but there's some half truth to this. This is back in the flight service days. We'd actually call up and talk to a briefer, 1980s, long before internet, long as that. He said, if you'd like to get on the phone and talk to a briefer and get a detailed weather briefing, you know, spend 15 or 20 minutes. He goes, feel free, you're more than welcome. He goes, but you're going anyways. You know, that was his. Now, what he meant by that was, when you flew freight, if there was the standard briefing, there's thunderstorms out there, hail to 4 inches, wind gusts 80, and you sit and you don't look. I'm not talking about a thunderstorm on top of your departure report, but en route. If you took off and went and tried to circumnavigate or whatever and landed, he's fine with that. But if you just sat, yeah, that didn't work for him.
You didn't have a job.
Yeah, that didn't work. That didn't work. And back then, there were so many pilots wanting jobs. I mean, they could get away with that kind of stuff, you know, because if you didn't do it, there was somebody who's going to, you know. So.
Did you have the proper instrumentation?
No.
Stuff to do all that?
No. We didn't have radar and any of that stuff. So, you know, ATC helped with you, and the saying there at Air Continental was, don't fly through a thunderstorm. But when you do fly through a thunderstorm, it's either 3,000 feet or 43,000 feet in the Learjets that we had that I never fly there, and nowhere in between. And you just went under and found a weak spot. And I've done it, not proud of it, yeah. And it wasn't that bad. I mean, it wasn't. A lot of rain, a lot of heavy rain. Got bounced around, but I've been bounced around other stuff a lot worse. So, but more, the one joke there, ice, because this was Cleveland, Ohio, and we ran Cleveland, Detroit, Chicago, Buffalo, Teterboro, New Jersey, Louisville, Kentucky, just in the Pistons, and then the Lears went Dallas, Atlanta, New York. Ice was I was more worried about ice than thunderstorms. So yeah, ice was always scared me more than thunderstorms. Right. With the moisture off the lakes, that was
probably in the Aerostar, but in the Aztec Navajo, did you have de-ice capabilities?
Well, everything had de-ice capability.
Okay.
Even the Aerostar did, but the Aztec, yeah, the Aztec would carry a ton of ice. And the nice thing about the Aztec was big fat wing, and the Aztec would talk to you. It would kind of do this when you know, if you got slow, you know, it wouldn't bite. It would talk to you. I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this. And unfortunately, the Aerostar, you learned on the Aztec, and then once you got 750 hours of multi, you were insurable with our company at the Aerostar. And the Aerostar was, you flew it like a jet. on the numbers. She didn't try to horse it. If you horsed it, it'd pay off. It wouldn't talk to you. You know, it was over before you. You know, so. But yeah, it's an interesting time. Wouldn't give it up for the world. So.
Well, hey, sir, appreciate your story.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Blue skies, man.